everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. I'm going to jump right in with a quick round of introductions, and we will move forward to the presentation and to hear from our amazing panelists today. So just to quickly introduce myself, I'm Allie Anderson. I'm the Director of Strategy and Insights for our Brand Partnerships team at LTK. Thank you again for joining our discussion today about the power of influencer targeting. With us, we have an incredible group of industry experts on the topic here with us. So we have Reesa Lake from LTK. She is our Vice President and Head of Creator Expansion and Agency Partnerships, and she'll be giving some insights into where we are going. As well as Cory Weaver. He's the Head of Global PR and Influence at Abercrombie Brands. Marianna Hewitt, she is the co-founder of Life With Me, or excuse me, the creator from Life With Me and co-founder of Summer Fridays, a skincare line. And Drew Scott, the creator of Lone Fox. So amazing crew of experts. A couple just quick updates before we jump in. We do have a Q&A section, so feel free to pop in your questions. And if we have time at the end, we will get to those. And our next webinar will be in May, and we'll be covering the launch of LTK Connect, which is our newest launched self-service product that's designed to power influencer marketing for our direct-to-consumer brands and really brands of all sizes. So jumping forward, just before we dive into our insights to share today, a little bit more about who LTK is. I know a lot of the brands on the phone work with us extensively on influencer collaborations, but some of the brands and agencies on the phone today might be newer to LTK specifically. So who are we? Well, we power creator commerce. So we were founded by an influencer to give creators a significant tech advantage to be a brand's power partner. And we're the most trusted and successful influencer platform driving billions of dollars in annual brand sales. So lots to unpack there. From a brand lens, what does that mean for you with this comment? And it's threefold how I see it. And so first, we really provide your brand with that technology. So we have an LTK app. Many of our brands see the majority of their sales really occurring within this app. And those are sales that are completely incremental to their whole creator programs. And further, it acts as a way to shop and gives your branded content longevity and a place to be consumed in kind of a longer format. We also have 10 years of influencer-backed data. So we use that data really to inform any decision that we help make for your brand, whether it be casting decisions we make to looking at your audience, really where it should grow into and advising on that strategy there. In fact, we have so much data that there's insights to derive from that. So we're continuing to evolve products and offer brands new tools and services to really act on that data. So this year we'll be launching a benchmarking tool, which will help you further learn about what's working, where you can grow. The second thing to unpack in that statement is we also provide brands with that consulting service. So again, we have thousands of conversations with our brands each month, really with that main focus be hitting that brand's KPI. And that looks different brand to brand. And so we do partner with brands of all sizes and make sure that we're providing you kind of the best support no matter what life stage you are working with creators. And then the third really big component here is we actually offer similar tech and services on both the influencer and shopper side of our businesses, meaning that we have structures in place to serve these customers. We provide our amazing influencers with a suite of tools and products and consulting so that that way they can be as successful as possible and driving performance back to your brand. And so all in all, this combined together and provides you as a brand with a powerful ecosystem to be as successful as possible in the creator landscape. So diving into the agenda for today, I will be sharing briefly a presentation based on some LTK shopper results that we received from a study that we conducted. I'm going to try to keep this presentation to no more than 10 minutes, just because we have an amazing panel of experts with us today that I'd love for you to be able to hear from, as well as I'm going to hand the floor to Reesa Lake to provide insight into where we're going as a company in terms of how we're thinking of influencers and growing and expanding. So I guess reading through the spoiler alert here, so shopping patterns among different audiences are not as different as one may think. So as I share these insights and data, you will have these in your inbox post webinar, but just be thinking through what are the commonalities between the types of audiences that you can work with. And I think thinking through that strategy as a brand will continue to make you more efficient when you're thinking of creators and how they fold into your overall marketing strategy. Awesome. Jumping ahead. So a little bit of a preview here, just touching on this briefly. So we did conduct a study, and I'm not going to read this word for word, but we surveyed about 200 or 2,000 participants in May or June of July of 2021. And these are the findings. They're adult women and men ages 18 plus in the US population with 97% confidence. So the insights we're about to share is data derived from that shopper study. So insight number one, social and mobile shopping habits of women and men are becoming increasingly similar. So the gap is closing on how men and women shop social and mobile, with only 10% of men lagging behind women. So what I really take from this here is 10%. I was surprised. I figured male shopping habits would lag much further behind female shopping habits. So it's growing, that gap is closing. And I think about this from a brand standpoint, it's interesting to think through this massive shift over to digital, especially over the last couple of years, and really how it's impacted changes in what audiences are shopping via social and mobile. So the next couple of slides here, they're just data points. I'm going to read them. As a brand, think through how does this impact my business, and really how can I use these specific data points to continue to evolve my creator marketing strategy over time. So the first data point is 80% of women and 69% of men are shopping from social posts. 63% of women and 52% men do the majority of their shopping online from their mobile phones. Jumping to the next page, the stats on this page, so 52% of women and 42% of men do the majority of their fashion shopping online, and 49% of women and 39% of men do the majority of their personal care and beauty shopping online. Again, so the main insight here is that women and men are becoming increasingly similar to how they're shopping on social and mobile. And, coming off the last couple of years, this might not be a huge surprise, but that gap is closing. Moving to insight number two. So insight two, convenience is why people are shopping online. So from our study, really the top 3 reasons consumers shopped online ranked of importance: 1, convenience; 2, selection; and 3, price. I think this is really interesting, convenience as one. So when I think of this from a brand standpoint, every brand on the phone has a unique set of attributes and a unique value prop to communicate with your consumers, whether it be free shipping and returns, two-day shopping, in-store pickup, a sleek app experience, and whatever it might be. Getting that communication out there and really setting that differentiator for yourself in the convenience factor is really important to how people are shopping online today. And I think creators can tell an incredible story of that convenience. We've seen obviously a huge rise in video content and how that's being engaged with, and the benefit of that of platforms like TikTok and stories is creators can really get that convenience messaging across that's unique and specific to your brand. The next is selection. I think when you think of selection from the creator landscape and the creator experience, I think of, I watched that video, I'm sold on that new face mask that the influencer promoted. I clicked the link and it's sold out. So thinking through SKU levels and product inventory is really important when working with creators, especially when that product selection is number two. So making sure we're promoting a large variety of products is important, and just showcasing what's so unique about your brand and your selection. And then price, no surprise here, consumers are absolutely price conscious these days. We're hit with so many options. You're able to really price shop and shop around with the internet. So again, price is number three. So really jumping in, the next couple pages will break down what categories women and men are shopping from social influencer recommendations. So what you can see here, and I'm not going to read every single category, but beauty, fashion, cleaning supplies, gifts, home goods, food, and bev. These are really the top handful of categories that women are shopping from social influencer recommendations. When I think of this again from a brand lens, I notice that while beauty and fashion are still absolutely strong, that's going nowhere. Audiences are continuing to be more open to shopping other categories and verticals. And I think it's so interesting to see the diversification of products in the creator industry really as it matures over time. Of course, I think of influencers starting in fashion, but really over the course of time, we've bought into these influencers' lives and their lifestyles. We're going to buy the cleaning supplies that they're buying. And I guess you can tell what couple years we're coming off with cleaning supplies being number three. But it's just interesting to see how categories have evolved over time, and that consumers, they're open, they're wanting to shop in these categories that influencers are promoting. So then male shoppers. So this is the same list, but for what purchases males are making from social influencer recommendations. So again, I won't read them word for word, but the top few are entertainment and sports, food and bev, all natural and organic, and then a tie between fashion, gifts, and home goods. And then cleaning supplies, I guess, also made it in the top five there with fitness and exercise. So again, from a brand lens here, my main takeaway is that while men are still shopping influencer recommendations in certain categories, they also might be more keen to go into store in other categories. So thinking through tailoring your strategy would be impactful. Also, if I'm a multi-brand or a D2C brand, a direct-to-consumer brand in one of these top ranking categories, thinking through how you can really fold in the male audience and male creator fold into your influencer strategy could be something of value to think through. Amazing. So the last insight, so insight number three here, social media is inclusive really of all audiences. So how are consumers and how our audience is using social media? So number one here is to post and share things they like with their friends and family. The number two is to seek tips and advice from social media influencers. Number three is to stay updated on friends and family and news. Number four, to find deals. Five, to be entertained. And six, to keep up on the news. So I think it's a really interesting insight here that influencers, they made it as number two. And I think that kind of folds in nicely to the study that we just shared and the data we just shared from that, and really how impactful influencers can be for your brand. Moving through the next slides, these showcase really what channels are being consumed by males and females, and then influencer shoppers. So influential shoppers is a term LTK introduced, I think it was in Q4 of last year. And really what we've defined as an influencer shopper is a shopper who is more likely to purchase from influencer. So in fact, 92% of this group of shoppers make purchases based on influencer recommendations. And this group of shoppers also accounts for 2/3 of influencer recommended product purchases. So really interesting when you're thinking about wanting to reach a valuable audience. These are really the channels that they are shopping. So you can see here, what you're looking at here is the first line is the top social sites they're visiting influencers on. And the second line there is top social sites they share shopping tips on. So the top sites that this group of valuable shoppers is visiting influencer content on is still Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. I think we're going to see TikTok just continuing to go up in the ranks, especially with just the emergence of video content performing so strongly for brand partners. But yeah, if you want to reach this coveted audience, this is where they're shopping and posting their shopping tips. The next page here is the exact same graph, but for women influential shoppers. The main difference here is really Pinterest moves into space number 3, so up from 5 for sharing tips. And then the last page here is for male shoppers specifically. So I think the biggest change here, again, we kind of see that top 3 rankings staying the same, but Twitter and Reddit rank much higher with male shoppers. So I guess to summarize all of these graphs, there isn't a stark difference in where to reach that audience, but it does vary slightly between female and male shoppers, and thinking through that strategy as a brand is important. Awesome. So just to wrap up again, I said I would power through. This will be in your inbox post-webinar. But just to summarize some of our key takeaways here, online shopping habits of men and women are becoming increasingly similar. Convenience is the #1 reason everyone shops online. Social influencers are the #2 reason adults visit social media sites, just behind sharing their content with friends and family. And the majority of women and men are shopping on social channels for a variety of products. And social media sites are preferred for influencer shoppers very slightly, but Twitter and Reddit rank higher among men. So that's our data that we have to share today. Moving into, I guess, the next section, before I hand the floor to Reesa, I'm actually going to jump in and have a quick conversation with Cory Weaver. Hi, Cory.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us today. So just wanted to take a minute to introduce Cory. He's the head of global PR and influencer at Abercrombie Brands. And I'm sure many of the brands and agencies on the phone today have seen Abercrombie in the news with articles with titles like "How Abercrombie Became Cool Again." So when I sat down to think about what brands have a really awesome pulse on just their audiences for this conversation, Abercrombie came to mind. And I think it's just incredible to see how Abercrombie has made such an incredible comeback, if you will. So Cory, I'm sure knowing both your current audience and where you wanted to go was really core for this. So before we move into the panel, I just wanted to open up the floor to hear from you on one specific question. And the question is, how have you used influencers and their audience to help usher in brand change over time?
Oh gosh, that's a pretty deep question. And there's probably an entire webinar that we could do on utilizing or the utility of influencers in reimagining a 130-year-old brand. But in general, we have sort of undergone this reimagination over the last couple of years, and it really started in 2016 when we onboarded our now current CEO, Fran Horowitz, and she brought in new senior leadership at Abercrombie. And one of the first things they did is get together and kind of figure out what Abercrombie as a brand could and should look like. And the first thing was really aging up our target consumer. I think a lot of people remember Abercrombie more as like a high school college brand, and instead now it's really focused on a young millennial. So acknowledging the fact that we've got people in their teens up into their 40s shopping the brand, but really sort of that design point is a 26, 27-year-old young millennial. And then they also reimagined the purpose of the brand as well. And now Abercrombie as a brand, the goal is to, let me see if I get this right, make every day feel as exceptional as the start of a long weekend, comfortable, confident, and stress-free together. And so that's really the brand purpose. And that, I think, along with the reimagination of who our core customer is, was really I should say, let me work that back. Influencer marketing in particular has been really helpful in communicating that, because it's one thing for a brand to say who they are. It's another thing for people to see it and to see it illustrated on the accounts and feeds of creators who they like implicitly trust. And so a lot of times, I think people imagine Abercrombie as this brand where people originally felt they had to fit in, and now it's this brand where people feel they can truly belong. And so partnering with people across the gamut of the human experience in terms of identity and self-expression and personal style has been really great and personally really gratifying, because we're able to see Abercrombie represented through all of these different lenses. And so influencer marketing has been really integral to bringing that reimagination of the brand to life, I'd say.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for the insight. I think hearing from you really that mission and that purpose and kind of like that motto of what you're hoping to accomplish, hearing that direct from you makes a lot of sense why I am so bought in, because I want my life to be like a weekend and stress-free all the time. And Abercrombie's clothes fit in with that. So exactly like you just said, I love it. Well, thank you so much, Cory. So switching gears here a little bit, I'm going to hand the floor over to Reesa Lake, and just I'll do a quick introduction of you, Reesa, before you take it away. But Reesa is Like to Know It's Vice President and Head of Creator Expansion and Agency Partnerships. So I think of intros. I saw a quote from Amber Vensbox, our co-founder, and I think she said it best for Reese's role. So she's an industry veteran with a rich history of developing and advocating for the world's leading influencer talent. So just a little quote there. She's responsible for kind of expanding our creators. And so brands, as you're on this call today and you're hearing from her and you're hearing more from Cory and from our amazing influencer panel, really the main takeaway is the industry is growing. There's room for all. It is here to stay. And how do you want to use that growth to reach not just your current audience or your future audiences, like Cory just touched on. So handing the floor over to you, Reesa. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Amazing. Thank you, Allie. And Cory, I definitely want to go live that, what was it, the day before a long weekend? I mean, nothing's better, right? So I really resonate with that. Thanks for the intro, Allie. And I like industry veteran. I sometimes refer to myself as a dinosaur, because I have been in this industry really since the beginning. I was managing creators before Instagram existed, and really looking about how we build creators into businesses and brands. And that has absolutely evolved over the past 10 11 years, from creators posting on blogs to YouTube videos to the launch of Instagram to TikTok and all the other platforms. And really the value proposition for brands has changed. It's gone from just throwing money at creators after we had to beg for that money to see if maybe there was actually value in those partnerships, but to now really be able to prove and show the value that brands will see from partnering with creators, and being able to actually see what creators will drive certain product decisions, what creators will drive affinity for your brand across price points, across verticals, and to be able to take and also provide that knowledge and that information back to creators as they're trying to figure out what brands they want to launch and develop. And my role is really exciting, because for the first time, there's a dedicated team that's really focusing on going out to new creators and bringing these economic opportunities to them. So as we look at diversifying not only the platforms, so how are we providing LTK opportunities for the next gen of TikTok creators who may not be used to selling to their audience, and how do we give them tools for them to actually provide what their audience is asking for. Simultaneously, brands, I'm sure that every single plan that you have, you're adding TikTok creators. So how is my team going out sourcing these different types of creators that will really play into your marketing mix? And whether that is diversifying of platforms, diversifying of types of creators across all different verticals. I've seen over the past 10 years that creators who started as street style fashion photographers now have launched launch into full lifestyle businesses and brands. And we're going to hear from a couple of them in just a moment. But I strongly believe in the opportunity of bringing LTK to the next gen, the new creator, simultaneously bringing new opportunities and new creators to brands that you may have didn't even know existed. So with that, I am going to welcome the folks that you guys are all here to see. Welcome Marianna and Drew. Thank you everybody for joining us. I wish we were all in real life on a panel and a stage somewhere, but I'll take virtual for now. I'd love to start with just some quick intros. I know that Ali announced who you are in your business, but I'd love to just hear how you got started, because, you know, talking about how a fashion creator has grown into a brand has definitely happened for both you, Marianna, and Drew. So how about starting with you, Marianna?
Hi, everyone. I'm Marianna Hewitt. I have been living my life on the internet for the last 10 years. So I started on YouTube in 2012, and I've been on Instagram since 2013, and probably signed up for Reward Style shortly after that, and now like to know it. And it's been such an incredible part of my journey, especially at the beginning, because I actually speak about this a lot because I'm now a brand founder, the co-founder of Summer Fridays. We are also on LTK. We use you guys also for influencer campaigns. But when we were starting Summer Fridays, people always used to ask me as an influencer, where did you buy this product? How much did you spend on this? Like, where can I find it? And I actually used LTK as like some sort of data point for us when we created the brand, because I knew exactly where my customers were going, how much they were spending, that they shopped at Sephora for their products. And so I took all of that data and then created a brand using that information. And so it's something I still use now as an influencer, but we also use it on the brand side. And we love working with you guys.
I love that. It's almost like a built-in focus group. I remember watching a creator who was launching a brand, and in live time, she was showing them actually designing the products, and she showed up shoes, and she said, you know, I'm doing this collaboration. Should I do, audience, do you want a white shoe? Or would you rather have, you know, like a black heel? And being able to get that live time response from your audience is extremely valuable as you're growing your business and your brand. Drew, we talked a little bit about the evolution of you and your content, and, you know, kind of where it's going. I would love to hear more from you. And if anybody is working on any home design decor project, Drew is a must follow.
Oh, thank you so much. My name is Drew Scott. Hi, everybody. And I am an interior designer. And I actually also am a YouTube content creator, creating interior design content on YouTube and Instagram. But it didn't really start off with interior design. I've actually gone through a bunch of different stages of, I guess, my social media journey as well. I've been on social media since I was 14, and I started off as actually a scrapbooking YouTube channel, believe it or not, which I did for about 4 or 5 years. Never knew you could turn any of this into a career, a job, anything like that. It was just really for fun. I mean, my main hobby was videography and photography, which, you know, that kind of turned into a job in the future. But then I kind of dabbled into a little bit of fashion. I was playing around with fashion. I started doing that on YouTube. I went to a fashion school and started doing photography on the side. And then actually, because of demographics and me being able to look at my demographics, is when I realized I needed to branch out of my current channel and create Lone Fox, because my two audiences at the time just were not intersecting at all. And that was something that analytics was showing me that I never knew I should really, like, you know, look at and dive into. And when I did, I was able to create Lone Fox. And I feel like it just really, really brought my business to the next level. And I mean, demographics, I think, are extremely important. And it's something that I use all the time to just make sure what I'm posting in specific areas is what I should be posting. And, you know, I'm garnering the most attention on my content that I'm able to do.
I mean, scrapbooking influencers, I need to add them to my expansion list. I think the interesting part there is, you know, as followers and audiences, we're invested in a creator for everything that they're doing. So for you, your audience wants to know what you're scrapbooking, what is the design project you're working on. I'm sure somebody wondering what books you styled behind you. We're just so invested in everything that touches your lifestyle. Cory, you talked, I mean, we know that you're with Abercrombie, which thank you for being here. We are so excited. Can you talk a little bit more about just your role at Abercrombie and kind of how influencer sits within your role and within the organization?
Sure, absolutely. Hi, everybody. Just to reintroduce myself, I'm Cory Weaver, he, him pronouns, PR and influence and affiliates, all sorts of sort of falls under my umbrella at Abercrombie. And primarily because these are all different ways that we're communicating with our audiences or our customers. And so we those three sort of focuses all interact. We're all one team. And so we all function together as one at Abercrombie. And so it's sort of this like influence umbrella here.
That's really great. I feel like so many companies still do have influencer as this silo off, and they're not speaking to the teams that are doing the ad buying, the people that are actually creating the content for the website, the people that are creating the content for social media. And it's really important to have that holistic view. Any tips for the brands in the room that may be in that silo space right now?
I would say that it's been really a journey for us as we sort of stood up this program, because influencer did sort of used to sit over on the side a little bit at the beginning. And we very actively and deliberately started infusing ourselves into these conversations. And so I think it is just being very transparent with your partners across whatever organization you're at and saying, hey, I think there's some synergies here. We're working with these talented people who have audiences themselves. This is a saleable opportunity. How do we work with you in terms of site design? How do we weave their photos into our, PDP pages? How do we all work together to holistically bring this brand to life? And so, yeah, I think it's like those vulnerable, transparent conversations with your partners saying, hey, we've got value here in what we're doing. Let us help you. Help us help you.
I love that. I say it all the time, help me help you.
Yeah.
We see consistently that new platforms are launching, and then we see that platforms are shifting and changing. They're adding stories, they're adding swipe ups, they're taking away swipe ups, they're adding stickers, they're adding short form content, every platform is changing and evolving, and then there's a new one launching the next day. How are you deciding when to actually lean into a platform? And when to maybe, hold on to what you're actually producing? I'd love to hear from, Marianna and Drew from a creator standpoint.
I could go first. So on TikTok and Instagram, I'm definitely trying to figure out myself what lives on each platform. I actually was just thinking of an example of I'm petite, I'm like 5'1.5", and I found a pair of petite denim from Abercrombie, and I love them so much. I was like, I have to make a TikTok about this. So I posted a TikTok, but then what I did was to cross promote my audience. Since I have over 1 million people on Instagram, I pinned a comment in the section and I said, go to my Instagram stories for a link for this product. So I drove people there, and then it ended up getting like thousands of clicks of people like coming over to Instagram stories. So I'm really trying to leverage both platforms and cross promote the content. But the content is really different on each platform. I think right now with TikTok, you can see that products can go viral really well. And so we can sell out something, but a lot of times the creator doesn't get the benefit from that. So you have to really drive them over to Instagram for the time being until we figure out how to sell on TikTok. So I use a lot of affiliate links specifically in my Instagram stories. So I'm always linking stuff every single day. Not only do I get, the affiliate sales from that, but I also get so much data of how many thousands of times did somebody click on this? Like what products are people really resonating with? And it's so fast for people to see. So the more clicks, the better. And so if you're thinking about partnering with an influencer and maybe you have a smaller influencer budget, maybe start first with an Instagram story campaign and have sticker taps in each of them. So you can really track all of that data to see how many times someone is clicking on something, how many times something was purchased. So I think that stories with sticker taps really are the best place for me to use links.
Yeah, I think definitely you made a good point of, driving from one platform to the next, and each platform has a different purpose for the consumer, for the audience. And I think for brands, it's probably been extremely challenging to go from working with creators on blogs and on Instagram, where there can be a little bit more product information, there can be more brand messaging, maybe more hashtags, but on TikTok, that content is not going to perform. It needs to be really entertaining, it needs to be off the cuff, and there has to be almost a control that is, and we would love more control to be given up to creators across the board, but I feel like on TikTok, for a campaign to actually be successful, they have to do that. Drew, we've talked about you and the evolution of your business and your brand from Instagram. You are massive on YouTube, and it is such a phenomenal storytelling platform for you. Can you talk a little bit about kind of what you're doing across the different platforms and when you decide to lean in?
Yeah, so I have always really been very video driven. Like I absolutely love videography. It's really how I started was I love videography, but I needed something to film. So that's what I was more so searching for. And that's how my content kind of came to be. But I mean, kind of like stemming from there, I kind of missed the ball on TikTok a little bit because I thought TikTok was more for a younger generation. It was a dancing app, a lip singing app. So at the time when TikTok came out, I really was putting it off. I was like, you know what, this platform's probably not for me. It's not for me. And I do feel like I joined it a little bit later than I probably should have. Thing that it's just trial and error. And I feel like that's a lot of what these brands or, you know, these social media companies are doing as well with removing sticker taps and doing this and swipe up and taking that off and changing the algorithm is they're also trying to figure out and, you know, like also get that data as to what people are wanting and how the app's going to work better. But sometimes it's a hit and sometimes, you know, it's a miss. So I feel like it's just, you just have to really try everything and then just gather the info that you can and kind of take it from there and then kind of decipher where you want to put this content, where you want to put that content, and what best platforms are suited for, you know, whatever content it is that you're creating. Because, you know, Instagram and blogs are much more photo and text driven, whereas YouTube and TikTok are much more video and visual content driven. So just kind of, there's different platforms for different types of content, I feel like.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And, you know, kind of deciding on when to lean in. We live in such this immediate gratification world where we post a video, we automatically want to see that it's getting a ton of likes, it's getting a lot of engagement. But when you're starting off on a new platform, starting from zero, you post one video, you don't get that response. I saw many clients who are like, okay, this is not for me. It's like, well, you didn't really commit to it. You have to actually set parameters on the time and energy and how much content you're going to actually produce on the platform to see it be successful. Cory, from a brand perspective, how are you deciding what platforms you're leaning into? Obviously, it takes a lot to actually produce that content. There's huge teams behind each of the platforms. Can you talk a little bit about the Abercrombie world of social?
Yeah, that is a really wonderful question. I have to say, as a viewer, I was on TikTok. I mean, I was on TikTok before the wave of people hit TikTok in the pandemic. I like take pride in that. I mean, a little, you know, as somebody in their mid 30s, like, you know, TikTok was still folks in their teens. So I felt very cool and hip and with it at the time. But in general, for the brand itself, where we go is we're really laser focused on listening to our customers. So quite frankly, we allow our customers to lead us in a lot of those different places. With TikTok in particular for Abercrombie, we didn't exist on the platform until folks in our target demographic sort of age range started, you know, venturing over to TikTok right at the beginning of the pandemic. And that sort of started our foray into the platform and organically engaging with a lot of people and seeing that there was, you know, there was promise there and then investing into it. And I have to say, just, you know, I'm so excited for everything that LTK is doing with creators venturing into TikTok and growing that space as well for LTK.
Yeah, and you know, it's definitely as the platforms evolve and we're talking to TikTok creators, it's almost like we're stepping back 10 years to the rooms that I sat in with bloggers and influencers before these other platforms existed, and really trying to figure out how does that content work on TikTok, making sure that, you know, creators are putting their link in their bio. But then I talked to another TikTok creator who did a TikTok explaining what LTK was, explaining where their shop was, and then pinned it to their channel so that every time somebody was coming on and asking, where's that top? Where did you get that blow dryer? Where did you get all these products? They can say, oh, they can revert them back to that original pin video. So I think we'll continue to see evolution on these newer platforms about how do, you know, solutions like LTK really help increase creators' opportunity to monetize.
Totally.
Marianna, I mean, as a content creator, over 1 million followers, entrepreneur, co-founder of the uber successful Summer Fridays, you have always been very intentional. And I remember, oh my gosh, I don't know how many years ago, but I remember sitting next to you at a dinner. It was Create and Cultivate dinner, and you had like the first prototype of jet lag mask. And I remember talking about that one product. You got it right there. And then you said, and you know what? And then in X amount of, and I don't remember the time frame, but this is my next product, and this is my next product, and everything was extremely intentional with how you launched that business and the brand. But simultaneously, you were running your own business and your brand as Marianna, and you as the personality and the creator and, you know, the advocate and the spokesperson for brands. How have you separated the two? You know, what is something that Marianna would talk about versus what maybe would live on Summer Fridays? And do you have a hard time separating the two? I'm sure that there's some brands in the audience that have a spokesperson that's very visual of their brand. How do you separate the two?
We've actually been really intentional about that from the beginning. So a lot of times you would think, oh, I'm an influencer, we should use like my name and the brand name just to leverage my own personal, you know, platform. But we were intentional from the beginning, naming it Summer Friday. So it didn't actually rely on us as influencers, because I didn't know, you know, I thought, okay, I'm going to be an influencer for a really long time, but who knows how long I'm going to do this for. I mean, now I'm 35, it's been a long time. So I'm probably like, this is my life now. But we were so intentional with that. So the way we separate things out is if you go to Summer Friday's feed, you actually like probably won't see photos of me on there. So it's really all about the community. It's about influencers and content creators of all sizes. And then like our traditional like model shoots for our campaigns. So we actually don't really live on Instagram feed on the Summer Fridays end. And we do that so that you never really feel like it relies on the two of us. So it's really about the customer. And so from a very early part of the brand, it's always been about UGC, reposting people, working with creators. And that's been really important for us. And we work with creators of all sizes, big and small. I value so much what I bring to other brands of being an influencer, of what I can do. And so from an early start of our brand, even when we didn't have much of a marketing budget, we always believed in paying influencers for their work. And now we're on LTK as well. And so like, for example, the Sephora sale is this week. So we want to let all of our community know, if you guys are influencers and content creators, the Sephora sale is this week. If you're using your links, you use your like to know it links so that you can get a commission of this sale if you guys are pushing some of your favorite products anyway. On my own personal end, I'm still a working influencer today. I work with brands that I love. I'm so fortunate today to still be able to do that. So my focus on my own personal page is fashion, beauty, wellness, and then some Summer Fridays. I don't want it to be all Summer Fridays on my page, because I don't want it to be another brand page where it seems like so selly all the time, because people come to me because they want recommendations in so many different categories. And so I bring them along in all of those categories of my life while sprinkling in the brand along the way. But I love working with other brands, and I want to definitely continue to do that for my followers.
Amazing. I was just thinking about the brand, and I feel like you guys are always, you know, the first to also really lean in at the right exact moment. Like, you know, when to do a pop-up with the most beautiful florals in the place where, you know, everyone's going. Like, even just thinking about the smoothie collaboration that you did with Erewhon, like, I don't think I even knew what Erewhon was. And then I started seeing Tinks talk about it all over the place. And then everybody's talking at Erewhon and the salad. How do you even think about these? I mean, obviously you have a full team, but I feel like you lean in really quickly to these cultural moments.
I really think social first for everything. So when we think of the packaging for Summer Fridays, or we think about, you know, the smoothie that I did with Erewhon, I always think, is someone going to want to photograph this? Because at the time, if you're only seeing things online and you can't go into a store, what's going to make you want to purchase that thing? Like, if you think about how fast you scroll on TikTok or Instagram, you're really looking at something for like maybe 1 second, like you're tapping through stories so fast. So what's like the most gravitating thing at the very beginning? So when we thought about our packaging, it was like very millennial pink at the time when we launched the brand 4 years ago, but by having a blue tube, it really stood out on Instagram amongst other products. With the smoothie, it's gone viral now because I wanted to create a beautiful smoothie that people wanted to share. So if you're a brand and you're creating products right now, or you're thinking of a campaign, think about like social and digital first. So like, what's going to make somebody want to go click and do something? That's why I think like on TikTok specifically, like a hook at the beginning in the first couple seconds really is what keeps somebody watching the rest of the video, even at the beginning of like an Instagram story. So I always like to think like, what's going to make somebody stop, because I know how short my attention span is online.
No, I love that. And I mean, unfortunately, I'm nowhere near an Erewhon, so I did not get to taste the smoothie, but it looked amazing. I mentioned earlier at this call, if you were working on any design projects whatsoever, you must be following Lone Fox, Drew Scott. He is a phenomenal interior designer, and obviously it's scrapbook designer and so much more. Drew, we were talking a little bit before about just like the evolution of who Drew Scott was it who he was as a creator versus who you are now. And then maybe kind of how you're going to pivot back around. I'd love to just hear more about what's going to actually be that trigger to make you want to go back.
You know, like I started on, I mean, I mentioned this a couple times now. I started off because I really was in the whole tech industry of it all. I loved everything technical. I loved editing. I really loved that side of it. And so I just needed something to film and be able to create content based off. So that's what I really started to do. And then I started to move into kind of like leaving social media a little bit, but still staying in the industry, but more so taking other influencers and helping them create their content. So what actually I did for a couple of years, and I was helping other influencers create content. And that's what I really loved, just editing it all and creating this beautiful content. And then I realized, I could be doing this for myself. Like I started to kind of see what they were able to turn it into and flip their businesses out, like turn their businesses into. And I was like, I want to create my own business. And that's kind of what I did with Lone Fox. I really wanted to create a brand that didn't have my name attached to it. I wanted it to more so be something that can kind of be its own entity, and could kind of have a couple different looks to it if I wanted it to, and it didn't have to have me in like within those looks, if that made sense. And that's kind of like how the Lone Fox brand, I kind of wanted to build that because I knew I wanted to take it and have it reach many different demographics. Like on TikTok, I know that I like to reach people that are a little bit younger. So I try to put more rental friendly content there, more simplified DIY projects. And then over on Instagram and YouTube, I like to do more long form content like room makeovers and full project based content over there.
That's, again, it's like diversifying the content that's on each channel, making sure that you're using the right content for each channel. We're going to switch gears a little bit and talk more about the actual brand partnership. And I think that the word partnership is probably the most important part of that definition. And, I feel like we've talked a little bit about, how content performs and, on TikTok, you want it to be more entertaining versus the type of content that you may see on other platforms. As you're looking at different partnerships, Cory, is there a certain lens that you're putting on, and whether that is a specific archetype of a creator, a certain following range of a creator that they must prove certain conversion? What are the kind of the parameters that you look at when choosing creators?
I mean, quite frankly, it changes by the week, if I'm being totally honest. I mean, on sites like Instagram, we're looking for people who really excel in personal style and have a unique take on how they fit Abercrombie into their wardrobe. For TikTok, it's certainly some of those hauls and things like that, but it's also working with people who show Abercrombie in a day-to-day life situation. So we're partnering with cooks, we're partnering with people who roller skate, people who breakdance, people who do all of that and provide a sense of entertainment along with a little bit of brand education there. With regard to actual like audience demographics, I'll say for our female customers or like our women's assortment, we tend to focus on creators who have a little bit larger audiences. For men, we tested recently, we had a whole bunch of micro influencers who were tagging us and tagging our crew necks recently. And we were like, you know what? Let's dive into that and let's work with all these, micro influencer, micro creators on TikTok in the men's space. And that did pretty well from our perspective. So it's a lot of testing and learning and staying flexible just to sort of keep our customers on their toes.
Yeah, no, I think, again, stay flexible, test and learn, and be willing to take risks. I used to work in traditional PR, and I remember when they first, again, a dinosaur, unlocked Facebook from our computers, and we would go in and tell brands they should get on Facebook. And the first question was, well, what other brands are there? And then we were able to actually rattle off brands, but it was those brands that were willing to take a risk and be there first were the ones that got the press. They got the big announcements. They were the ones that were included as kind of the trailblazers. So I think being really willing to take a risk is important. And whether that is with the platforms that you're joining, the creators that you're working with, and everything beyond. For Marianna and Drew, I know that brand partnerships are a huge part of your business and your brand, but also really making sure that you're picking the right brands to work with. I've seen, a number of clients turn down six-figure opportunities with brands because it didn't feel right. It didn't match with the ethos of their brand. Are there kind of internal checklists that you go through when you see an offer come through from your management team that makes you decide maybe you want to ask more questions, or that's a yes, that's a no, that's a pass? Would love to hear from you, Marianna.
Yeah, I usually think to myself, like, will my audience like this product? Because I'm doing you a disservice if I'm working with you, if I don't actually think somebody will like what it is. And not only is it the product, but sometimes it's the way that the campaign is written. And so I know, because I sit in this weird place now of being on the brand side where we have our own, things that we need as a brand. But then I also know as a creative, like I know what's going to perform best for my audience. So I think being really upfront with the influencer you're working with first and letting them know, like, what is the goal of this campaign? If you want really beautiful images, then maybe it's not so much about selling and you don't need as many Instagram stories, but you want really beautiful feed images. If it's about like selling specifically, maybe you want to go and do a haul on TikTok or do a haul and unboxing on Instagram stories and like link every single product. So I think you really need to align on the goals before working with an influencer. And so I'll ask the brand, okay, if this is what you want, I understand this is the content. I don't know if it's going to perform as well, but if this is your goal, like that's fine. But if the brand is a little bit more open to working with the creator to see like what will perform best with them, it's definitely a collaborative process. And I think as I've gotten, longer on my career, I've been more vocal with saying what I think will perform best. So I think be open. And on the brand side, we have a lot of influencers that we work with, but there's so many people that we hadn't tapped into yet. So we actually worked with the influencer team at LTK, and then we worked with them on specific campaigns for people that they knew these people had clicks a lot to Sephora for beauty products of all different sizes, and they helped us run campaigns with talent that we actually wouldn't have even known about before. So if you are curious and you need a little bit more help and guidance there, they're an amazing resource because they have all the information and data of like who might work best for your brand.
I love that. And she's not paid to be here today, everybody. She genuinely thinks that. I didn't prompt her with those words.
It's really, really amazing. Like it's so great on the brand side and the influencer side. And I was like begging like our head of e-commerce, like we need to get on LTK. Like we need to have these links for everybody. And I know as an influencer, I'm just linking to anywhere where I know I can use an LTK link instead of just a plain link, because I want to have that data and clicks on top of the sales. Because as we're pitching brands as an influencer, my manager will say, hey, can you send me all of your LTK stats for the last month? And we'll see like, what are the top selling brands? What are the top selling items? What had the most amount of clicks that month? And we're like, okay, denim is working really well for me right now. So even if this brand doesn't want to work with me at this time or they don't have a budget, we can go out to other denim brands because we know this category is working for me.
That makes a lot of sense. Again, data, demographics. Drew, what about you? Are there any kind of internal checklists that you go through when you see an opportunity or an offer come through?
Oh, yes, for sure. I always generally look first at the scope of work, what I'm going to be kind of creating. And then I just want to make sure that it will resonate on those platforms, kind of like what Marianna was mentioning, because sometimes I feel like brands just think of what will work best for their product, but then they need to also hear from the influencer as to what would work best for that influencer's platform. Because I feel like some products are better on stories, some products are better shown on TikTok. I also feel like YouTube's a very, very heavy one where YouTube promotions for me, I feel like are a lot more beneficial because I feel like you could pack a lot more info in there. Normally you get like a minute or two to talk about a specific product. So if you really, really want to spend, a little bit of that extra budget, I say pushing to YouTube might be even a little bit better to get more of your brand out there. And it's a little bit more searchable, I personally feel like. And then from there, I kind of then decide what kind of content that I want to create myself, and then kind of pitch it back and forth to the brand. It's definitely a collaborative effort, but I've turned down large deals as well, just because they didn't feel right. It just didn't feel like something I genuinely would want to promote. And you just really have to go with your gut instinct and just decide what will work best for that brand, and then build a partnership off of that. And you can really gauge. And like what Marianna said as well about wanting to find items that are like to know it links, I feel like also making sure that your products are on a app like LTK is really beneficial, because a lot of influencers, they really do go to apps and look and pinpoint down the shops they should be shopping out for their full home, because they want to fill it with items that are then shoppable by their followers so that they earn an income, of course. And then also their followers are getting pieces that they're seeing that they love.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And, I think that for brands to really understand that there's, obviously there's a financial investment in a creator, but there's almost more at risk for a creator because you have the chance of losing credibility with your audience, pissing off your audience, creating a negative conversation that would impact your brand. There's a lot that goes into it, and there needs to be that trust between brand and creator, and really listen to the creator because they know what is going to perform. They want this to be successful. They want you to come back and recontract them for another post, book them for a year-long contract. contract. And that's only going to happen if the campaign is successful. We are running down in time. I have one last question and I want to do a quick rapid fire. If for the room of the audience, all these amazing brands and agencies, what's one thing you want them to know about your audience? Let's start with you, Drew.
I'd probably say that my audience is consistent. Like that's something I've always talked about, consistency, and I strive to be consistent with my content as well. And I feel like my audience is consistent with viewing my content, which I think is really great. My content is never fluctuating. I know that there's some influencers out there that, you know, they're able to create some content and it's like, this is my peak kind of content and it's going to do really well. But then they really have to strive to hit those other pieces of content and get them views as well. But I feel like straight across the board, something I've noticed about my audience is they're really consistent. They kind of just bounce around to my different platforms. And that's something that I think a brand also loves, is that they know that if they come to me, they're going to get a consistent, you know, engagement as they did last time or more based off of the increase in following.
I love that. And then Cory and Marianna, I'd love to hear just from a brand perspective, like what do you want to know most about your audience?
I think on the personal end, their age is very important. And that also goes for the brand side. So when we think about the products that we're creating, we want to make sure, because there's different skincare concerns that you have in your 20s, that you have in your 30s. And so when we first started the brand, a lot of our followers were coming out of being in their mid 20s to their late 20s. So they were past the age of acne, but into the age of hyperpigmentation and dark spots, of skincare concerns that they had post breakout. So we created products for those specific age groups, but then that also goes for price points too. Because you're not at an age where maybe a little bit older, you don't have a ton of money to spend on really expensive skincare products. So when we launched Jet Lag Mask, is $48. And that was really intentional, going with our demographic of where we thought the girl was, how old our customer was. So that's really, really important in our product development process. And Cory was saying the same thing, as they kind of like reworked who their customer was. Price point is so important when you think about like your target demographic. So you want to make sure your customers can actually buy what you're selling.
Great insights. And you, Cory?
From the Abercrombie side, definitely exactly what Marianna was saying with regard to age, but also what their life is like right now. I know that's sort of like a big conceptual idea, but that has driven so many decisions that we've made from the product side at Abercrombie over the last couple of years. We found out, we're talking to our customers and they're like, hey, my like long weekend vibes, I'm spending those going to the weddings of my friends right now. I want a collection that I can wear to that. And that's what caused us to introduce our Best Dressed Guest collection. They talked about, you know, their stresses and concerns, their denim dilemmas, and, you know, the idea of a waist gap and how that's an issue. And so we were able to deliver this Curve Love line that's been wildly successful. And so really just like what's going on in their lives, what are the needs that they need met so that we can meet them for them. That's really what we want to know about our audience.
Amazing. So ditch the sweats, get the wedding wear. Abercrombie has you all set. So we're gonna do a quick rapid fire. Let's go in the order of Drew, Marianna, Cory, just for process purposes here. For personal consumption, TikTok or Instagram? Drew?
TikTok.
TikTok.
For Instagram, happy to have chronological order back, or don't care?
I don't really care.
Yes, I love it. There were so many people, I was missing all of their content.
I don't really care. I mean, I'm happy, but anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
Guilty pleasure account to follow on TikTok or Instagram?
Anything ASMR, ASMR vibes.
I just love the For You page on TikTok. I love just finding like new random people who maybe aren't even influencers, just like normal people doing things that are entertaining to see.
I follow the trans handyman Mercury Stardust on TikTok, and as like a relatively new homeowner, I'm learning so much about fixing drains and plumbing and electrical and all of that jazz. Highly recommended.
Amazing. And in one quick sentence, what do you wish brands knew about working with creators, influencers, and talent? Starting with you, Drew.
I would just say that it's the way. I don't know how to put this in one sentence, but you know,
you can have 2 or 3 if you need them.
I need 26. Just kidding. I just feel like it is the way of marketing now. Like I really do feel like people are looking at influencers. Like they're not looking at they're just looking at people that they really look up to?
I would say to give them creative freedom and working on partnerships together, because ultimately you want it to succeed with them. So you want to give them the freedom to, reach the goals that you want. So definitely don't give them a very strict creative brief so that they can have creative freedom to do what will sell best for you.
That's okay. Marianna actually stole mine. So mine was going to be the same thing. In general, the creators you're working with, they know their audiences intrinsically. They know them so well. So if they're making a recommendation on where a piece of content should live, what sort of product they should promote, how they should go about doing it, trust them because they know the people that they're speaking to.
Amazing. Well, trust the creator, trust your audience, be willing to take risks, try things out, make sure that you are optimizing every functionality that LTK has. I was recently at an event and they did a cheese board decor segment, and the cheese board, they gave a pamphlet, and on the pamphlet it had the LTK logo, it had the link to LTK. So every creator who was creating the cheese board was then probably more incentivized to actually post about the board, knowing they would get commission. So figure out ways that LTK can play more into your marketing mix. And thank you everybody for joining us today. I hope you live your best long weekend Friday, the Abercrombie life. Have a good one, everybody.